When you reach your 60s, dating can feel like stepping into a world you no longer recognize. The rules have changed, the pace is different, and the way people connect isn't the same as it used to be. Years ago, meeting someone might have happened at church, through a friend, or at a community gathering. Now, you hear about online profiles, swiping, and apps that make dating feel more like a game than a genuine connection. It can be overwhelming, especially if you've been out of the dating world for decades. But here's something I want you to understand right from the start: you're not alone in feeling this way. Many men in their 60s and 70s feel unsure about how to begin again. It's also true that dating after 60 comes with its own challenges. You may feel set in your ways, cautious about letting someone into your daily life, or unsure if you're ready to open your heart again. But that's where the real opportunity lies, because now you have the wisdom to approach dating with clarity and honesty. You can skip the games and focus on building something real. I'm going to share a few truths that can help you navigate this stage with confidence. Some of these truths may be a little uncomfortable to hear, but if you take them to heart, they can save you time, protect your peace, and even lead you to the kind of relationship that feels like home. Before we start, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Just drop your state or city in the comments below. And if you have any natural health tips of your own, feel free to share those too. Someone else might really benefit from hearing what's worked for you. Truth number 1 is this: it's not as simple anymore, but it can be far more meaningful than it ever was before. When you were younger, dating often happened without much thought. You met someone, you went out for dinner or a movie, and if it didn't work out, you moved on quickly. There was a lightness to it, a sense that there would always be another chance just around the corner. But now, after 60, things feel different. Not just because of age, but because of everything you've lived through, the responsibilities you've carried, the losses you've faced, and the habits you've built. These experiences shape not only who you are, but also what you want. At this stage, you're not chasing excitement for its own sake. You're searching for comfort, peace, and someone whose presence makes your days feel more complete, not more complicated. You've learned that chemistry is nice, but it's not enough on its own. What really matters now is compatibility, finding someone whose rhythm matches yours. Maybe that means someone who enjoys quiet mornings over coffee, who's happy to spend an afternoon in the garden, or who understands that sometimes the best evenings are the ones spent at home. I know men who've tried dating again only to realize that their priorities didn't align with the person they met. One man told me about a wonderful woman he had dinner with. She was funny, interesting, and full of life. But halfway through the evening, she talked about her dream of traveling the world non-stop. For him, that was exciting in theory, but in reality, his life was rooted in family, community, and the routines that gave him joy. He didn't need constant adventure, he wanted steady companionship. And that's perfectly okay. Dating at this age isn't about trying to impress someone with stories of what you've done or proving that you're still as daring as ever. It's about being honest, both with yourself and with the person sitting across from you. It's about looking for someone who values the same kind of days you do. And here's the beauty of it: when you find that match, it feels deeper, safer, and more real than the fleeting connections of youth. Because now, you're not just building a relationship, you're building a life together that fits both of you, just as you are. Truth number 2 is that online dating may feel unnatural, but it's not hopeless. For most men in their 60s or 70s, the idea of meeting someone through a website or an app can feel strange, maybe even a little embarrassing at first. You didn't grow up swiping through photos or writing short profiles about yourself. In the past, connections usually came through friends, church, work, or community events. Now, it's about algorithms, search filters, and profile pictures, and that can be intimidating. The first time you log on, you might feel like you've stepped into a room where everyone is speaking a slightly different language. You see people describing themselves with lists of hobbies, favorite foods, and photos from vacations. You might wonder if you belong there, or if anyone will understand the kind of life you've built. That's normal. Many men I've talked to said they felt out of place at first. But here's the truth, online dating is simply another doorway. It's not the relationship itself, just a way to meet people you might never cross paths with otherwise. The key is to approach it with patience and honesty. You don't need to write an essay about your entire life, just give a genuine glimpse of who you are and what you enjoy. A short, warm introduction is far more effective than a long list of adjectives. Use a photo that looks like you today, not a picture from 10 years ago. Smile naturally, wear something you're comfortable in, and if your dog, your garden, or your fishing rod is part of your life, include it, it's part of your story. You also have to be mindful. Not every message will lead to a conversation, and not every conversation will lead to a meeting. That's okay. Don't take silence personally, people have their own reasons for moving on, and it's rarely about you. And yes, you should stay alert. If someone asks for money or makes you feel pressured too quickly, walk away without hesitation. The men who succeed in online dating at this stage are the ones who treat it like planting seeds. They don't expect instant fireworks. They start small, exchange a few messages, and see if a natural connection forms. Sometimes the first meeting is just pleasant, and that's fine, you never know when a second meeting might reveal something deeper. The point isn't to master technology, it's to keep your heart open long enough for the right person to find their way in. Truth number 3 is that deep listening speaks louder than any words you could say. At this stage in life, most people are not looking to be dazzled by grand speeches or quick wit, they're looking for someone who will truly hear them. And that's something many men overlook. Real listening isn't just sitting quietly until it's your turn to speak. It's giving your full attention, letting the other person finish their thought, and caring about what's behind the words they're saying. When you're on a date, it can be tempting to fill every pause with a story or an opinion. You might feel like silence means the conversation is failing. But often, it's in those pauses that the most important things happen. Sometimes, the other person needs a little space to share something personal, a memory of their late spouse, a struggle they've faced, or a hope they haven't told many people about. If you rush to respond or change the subject, you might miss the chance to connect on a deeper level. I've heard women say that one of the most meaningful experiences they've had on a date was when the man simply stayed with them in a moment of emotion, without trying to fix it, explain it, or lighten the mood. That kind of presence says, "You're safe to be yourself with me," and that is worth more than any clever line. You can practice deep listening by asking thoughtful questions like, "What's been bringing you joy lately?" or "What's something you've been learning about yourself?" And when you ask, really pay attention to the answer, not just to the words, but to the feelings underneath them. Notice their expression, the tone in their voice, the way they choose their words. That's where the truth is. This doesn't mean you never share your own stories. Of course, you should, but do it in a way that adds to the connection, not takes the focus away from the other person. If you're not sure whether to give advice, ask first, "Do you want me to give my opinion, or would you rather I just listen?" That one question alone can make someone feel deeply respected. Deep listening is rare because it requires patience and humility. But if you can offer it, you'll stand out, not because you tried to impress someone, but because you gave them the gift of feeling truly seen and heard. And at this age, that kind of connection is what makes love worth pursuing. Truth number 4 is that knowing what you don't want is not selfish, it's actually an act of kindness, both to yourself and to the person you're with. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that being selective means being too picky, or that setting clear boundaries will scare people off. But the reality is, after 60, your time and energy are too valuable to spend on situations that don't fit who you are or how you want to live. By now, you know the routines, habits, and values that give you peace. You also know the things that drain you or make life harder. Pretending those things don't matter just to please someone else will only lead to frustration later. For example, if you know you can't handle being around cigarette smoke, there's no point forcing yourself to date someone who smokes just because you don't want to hurt their feelings. If you prefer quiet mornings at home and someone else thrives on constant travel and late nights, that's not a flaw, it's a difference in lifestyle that's worth acknowledging early. Being honest about what doesn't work for you actually shows respect. It prevents misunderstandings, saves both people from wasted time, and allows you to focus on connections that have a real chance of lasting. One way to get clear on this is to take a few minutes to write down 2 lists, your non-negotiables and your flexibles. Your non-negotiables are things you simply can't compromise on, whether it's health habits, personal space, family commitments, or lifestyle choices. Your flexibles are areas where you're open to differences, maybe hobbies, favorite foods, or political opinions, as long as mutual respect is there. This clarity doesn't mean you're closing the door to unexpected possibilities. In fact, it often does the opposite. It frees you to be more open, because you're not worrying about whether you're in the wrong kind of relationship. And it gives the other person the same freedom, because they know exactly where you stand. Some matches won't happen because of your boundaries, and that's okay. The ones that remain will be people who see you clearly and value you for exactly who you are. And that's the kind of partnership that will bring peace and stability into your life, instead of constant compromise and quiet resentment. At this age, you're not trying to start over from scratch, you're starting forward with purpose, and that starts with knowing yourself. Truth number 5 is that there is no deadline for love, only readiness. Too many people believe that if they haven't found the right partner by a certain age, the opportunity has passed. But love doesn't work like a bus schedule. It doesn't arrive on a timetable, and it certainly doesn't care how many birthdays you've celebrated. What matters far more than age is whether you're truly ready to let someone in. Readiness is not the same as wanting love. Wanting can come from loneliness, habit, or even fear of being alone. Readiness is quieter. It comes from a place of self-respect and self-understanding. It means you're content in your own life, but open to sharing it with someone who earns that place beside you. It means you've stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking, "What do I want to give to the right person?" I've seen love appear in the most unexpected moments for people well into their 70s. Sometimes it starts with something simple, 2 people in the same class, chatting over coffee, discovering they have more in common than they thought. There's no rush, no pressure, just steady companionship that deepens over time. And often, that kind of love is more lasting because it's built on patience and mutual respect, not urgency. When you're ready for love, you're not trying to prove anything. You don't need to act younger, hide your history, or pretend to be someone you're not. You show up as yourself, scars, stories, routines, and all. And the right person won't just accept those things, they'll value them. Because they'll know you've lived a life, and they'll see the strength and depth that comes with it. The truth is, the timing doesn't matter. Whether it happens in 6 months, in 6 years, or not at all in the way you imagined, being ready means you're living with openness instead of fear. And even if romantic love doesn't appear immediately, that openness can lead to deeper friendships, new experiences, and a richer life. So take the pressure off yourself. You don't need to chase love like it's slipping away. Instead, focus on creating a life that feels full and meaningful on its own, because when you do, you'll be in the best place possible for love to walk in naturally. And when it does, you'll be ready to welcome it, without hesitation and without regret. If you've followed me through all of these truths, it already says something important about you. You're not just curious about dating again, you're open, and maybe even brave enough to consider letting someone into your life after years of living on your own terms. And that's no small thing. Starting over after 60 isn't about chasing youth or trying to relive the past. It's about honoring the life you've built, the lessons you've learned, and still believing there are new moments worth sharing. The truth is, you don't need to be flawless to find love. You don't need to be a smooth talker, an expert on romance, or completely sure of every step you take. What matters is that you're real. Real is what lasts when the exciting first dates fade into everyday life. Real is what makes you a safe place for someone else's heart. If you've been carrying doubts, wondering if someone could truly love you with your history, your habits, your hesitations, I want you to hear this clearly: the right person won't love you despite those things. They'll love you because of them. They'll understand that each wrinkle, each scar, each story is a part of who you are. And they'll value you more for it. So here's my invitation to you: take one small step forward. That step could be as simple as saying yes to coffee with someone you already know, joining a local group you've been thinking about, or even just updating your online profile with a more honest picture of who you are today. You don't have to rush, and you don't have to force anything. But you are allowed to hope again. And if anything you've heard here has struck a chord with you, even one line, share it in the comments. You never know who might read your words and feel a little less alone. This space is here for men like you, men who still have room in their lives for connection, laughter, and the kind of love that feels like home. Take your time. Guard your heart, but keep it open. And remember, love isn't looking for perfect. It's looking for present. And that, my friend, is something you can give at any age.